So I want to talk about trust today. I'm filming outside because there's just too many noises going on inside of my house, so hopefully there's not any crazy noises out here. I want to talk about trust because a lot of times people expect trust to just be freely given, freely there until someone does something to break that trust. And it's a lot more complicated than that, and it has to do with the subconscious programming that we have when we're children. And so I want to dive into that and help you get a little bit more clarity. So for those of you who are new here, I'm Ketra Thompson. I'm a certified master hypnotist and a relationship recovery coach, where I focus on attachment style and how that really plays out in your life, in your relationships, in every capacity. So if you'd like to learn more, check out the link in the description below. You can check out my website, and you can also set up a completely complimentary consultation call so that we can chat and I can ask you some questions, hopefully help you get some clarity, and I can make my best recommendations. So check that out. Okay, so let's talk about this trust thing and why it feels so tricky. It plays out in our ability or our inability to let people into our lives. So I want to first start with going back a little bit. So when we're infants, we have this thing called cycles of met need. So we cry, someone picks us up. We have a messy diaper, someone changes it. We're hungry, someone feeds us. There are thousands and thousands of cycles of met or unmet need as an infant. Before we even have words to put in to a description about that, we're building trust with our caregiver. They are either effectively meeting our needs quickly or they're not. Whether it's their fault or not, doesn't matter. It's what we're experiencing as children. And if you go to orphanages in some of these other countries that still have big orphanages, you'll find that those babies don't cry. And there's a reason they don't cry. It's because their cycles of met need are not being met. They have learned they are not going to get that diaper changed. There might be 5 or 10 babies in front of them with diaper changes. They're not going to get fed when they want to be. They're not going to get held when they need to be. And the bigger, more overarching issue is they were immediately ripped away from their primary attachment bond, which was their mother's body that they grew in to be cared for by other people who are not effectively able to care for them. Even if they were, that attachment trauma would still be in place because they spent 9 months trusting, bonding with this body they were growing in, this human being. And so the cycles of met need are really important in establishing trust with our caregiver. And it's the reason why as kids get older, they can get angry and get mad, and they can trust that they have a safe space to do that with their parent because they have so many cycles of met need in their past that they know on a subconscious level, not even a verbal conscious understanding, that this person is going to meet their needs. Even if they are not happy and perfect all the time, they can let their guard down and cry and maybe throw a fit with that parent because they can trust that that parent is going to care well for them. So I want to go a little bit more into this because let's take it to the next step of trust building. We'll get to the relationship stuff for adults, but this all matters. So let's say a kid now has a step parent come into their life. Now, a step parent has not been there since day one. They have not been there to have that cycle of met need happen thousands of times. There is no subconscious trust with that human being. And so I can relate to that feeling because I have step parents, and I've also done quite a bit of research on the step parenting situation and process, and it typically takes about 7 years to fully feel like you're really just that this is your family now. This blending process has happened, and it's because of cycles of unmet need or cycles of met need that didn't happen with this new step parent. And so it really matters how that step parent is with their stepkids. If they are demanding, if they are critical, if they are harsh or overly structured with them, they're not accepting them in their humanity, in their really vulnerable, innocent young state where they're trying to navigate and figure out the world. They are not functional adults. It can create a lot of damage and mistrust. And so it's really important that the step parent knows going in how to create trust. It comes with consistency. it comes with time. And so this is what happens when we end up in a relationship as an adult. We think that trust should be an automatic given thing. That, people might say, well, I never did anything to break your trust. Don't punish me for your past. And while we should not punish new partners for the mistakes of our past partners, we also need to realize that if we are going to build solid trust in a solid foundation, we're going to have to be patient and we're going to have to be consistent. We're going to have to communicate well on both sides so that our nervous systems can relax and that we can figure out that this person is trustworthy, not just by what they say. They can say it all day. You can trust me. You can count on me. I'm here. This is what I want. Great. I love it. I love having those words. But that is not the heart of how trust is built. It is built with time and consistency. And I remember years ago, I had a really good friend who had just gotten divorced, and her new person she was dating, who she ultimately married, had just gotten divorced, and both of them had been in very, very long-term marriages. And it was tricky to navigate this comfort level and this trust with this new person. And I remember telling her, you're used to being in a mature relationship, and he's used to being in a mature relationship, but the relationship between the two of you is just a baby. It needs time. And what I didn't even know at the time, but what I was really referring to here underneath that is it needs time to build trust. Trust shouldn't be something that we expect the other person to 100% give us right away, because we haven't earned it, and we earn it with time and consistency. So if you're in a situation where you're feeling like you just are so frustrated because this other person doesn't trust you, you need to take a step back and you need to really think about how you're showing up in that relationship. So how you're showing up in the relationship matters. This is kind of the old saying about, everyone judges themselves based on their good intentions, but they judge everyone else on their actions. Well, you need to start looking at yourself based on your actions and not just your intentions. Be curious. That's really the first step. Ask your partner, what can I do to help you in this situation? And then you can start taking actionable steps where you're communicating, here's my plan, and then you follow through. So it seems easy, it seems simple, it seems like a no-brainer, but sometimes we get too comfortable too quick, and we really need to take the time to create an environment where trust is built over time with consistency. So now I just want to share how the subconscious programming can be a big part of this. So I talk a lot about that subconscious programming and how we have programmed our subconscious mind from birth to age 7. And then we've had additional programming through complex trauma and life experiences after that, but we don't have access to our subconscious mind, even though it's driving over 95% of everything we think, feel, and do. So if you're struggling to have discernment in your relationships, knowing whether you can or can't trust someone, you may have some subconscious blocks or some complex trauma that's keeping you from seeing that clearly. And even if that's not the case, even if you're, maybe keeping yourself from even stepping into a situation with a partner, you may have some subconscious blocks that are creating fear around connection. And so if that's the case, the hypnotherapy process is a really great way to get underneath that, to reframe those beliefs subconsciously so you can much more easily implement the changes that you want in your life and create a life that you love. So if you'd like to learn more, check out, again, the link in the description below. If this has resonated with you, then I appreciate it if you would click like and subscribe, and be patient with yourself in the process. If you'd like some additional help, because none of us heal in isolation, don't hesitate to reach out. Until next time, I hope you curate a life by your own design.